These days, we are seeing very little innovation in the gaming industry. Most publishers prefer to stick to formulas that have proven successful in the past, and taking risks is something only few are willing to do. And even when you look at Overwatch, nothing about it truly innovates in any way. Everything from their characters, their designs, their story, and their gameplay elements, you could pretty much say that Overwatch is Stereotype the game. But this is not necessarily a bad thing. Neither is it something new coming from Blizzard. They are not an inherently innovative company when it comes to game design. What's remarkable about them is that they take existing concepts and give them the Blizzard spin and polish that their fans have grown to love. World of Warcraft was not the first MMO as much as Overwatch was not the first hero shooter. Yet both of these games grew massively popular despite the lack of true innovation. If anything, they took these concepts and tried to give them a level of polish that no other developer previously has. Copying and iterating on existing designs is not something that should be hated, it should be celebrated. Because more games of the same kind means more choice for the consumer. If you as a developer lose a part of your player base to another game, then you should be worrying about what they do better than you that draws your players away. And sometimes you don't do anything wrong at all. It's possible that the player in question loves the idea of your game, but not the rule set that surrounds it. Or another developer gave this basic concept a different spin which they prefer. At the end of the day, well copied is still better than poorly doing it yourself, and more choice for the consumer is always a good thing in my opinion. It is competition that drives innovation in the first place anyway. Today I would like to start a conversation about improvement to the experience we have in Overwatch today. I'm sure that many of you have played countless games in the past and you have seen what other titles did wrong, but also what they did really well. And I would like to encourage you to join the discussion and let us know down in the comment section below what you think Overwatch could learn from other games. And as a first step, I'm going to do exactly that in today's video. Something that seems as obvious as it is mind-boggling will be comparing Overwatch to another in-house developed title sides of Blizzard, which in this case is going to be Heroes of the Storm. Now I know that everyone has their opinion about MOBAs in general and Heroes of the Storm in particular, but whether you do or don't like them has nothing to do with our discussion today, because the point is trying to find out what Heroes did right, which potentially could be something Overwatch could adapt to their own game. Now I know for a fact that different development teams over at Blizzard do look each other over the shoulder every so often, and I also know that developers who work on Overwatch have previously worked on other Blizzard titles. That makes a whole lot of sense given that Overwatch is a relatively new IP compared to the history of Blizzard titles we know to date. I am fairly confident that the Overwatch team has considered adapting several mechanics from other games even past its launch, and at BlizzCon we found out that Heroes of the Storm is going to adapt the voice-over IP system from Overwatch, and they are also introducing a performance-based matchmaking system which we Overwatch players know all too well. So what is the first thing they could learn from Heroes? The separation of hero versus team league. In Heroes of the Storm you have two separate queues for either playing on your own, which will be the Hero League, or playing with a set team you put together yourself, which will be the Team League. Now the reason I think this could work really well in Overwatch is because, for all intents and purposes, Overwatch is a glorified MOBA, or well, a MOBA shooter hybrid. From what I have gathered, the general rule of thumb seemed to be that ex-MOBA players would improve much more rapidly at Overwatch than shooter veterans would, because of all the similarities that best to the way team fights play out in MOBAs versus the bigger emphasis on actual gunplay in what I would consider to be real shooters. And even in my time playing Heroes of the Storm, which bear in mind I'm terrible at, I found myself being able to adapt strategies I learned while playing Overwatch. At any rate, both of these games have an incredible emphasis on team play, but the developers are also aware of the fact that not everyone is able to coordinate a group of 6 to play together on a regular basis. So there is the solo queue variant that caters to the vast majority of players who, given their circumstances, can only play alone, and there's a separate queue for teams who essentially sign up to play with a given roster per season. That means that if you group up with certain individuals to play your placements in the team league, you would only be able to participate in that league playing with the exact same roster. It emphasizes the team aspect of the game over the random matchmaking factor that, more often than not, has a bigger impact on the outcome of a match than actual skill. And both of these queues have separate rewards as well, encouraging players to participate in both of them. As it stands, 6 stacking is heavily discouraged by the game and has gotten some really bad reputation in the community. Long queue times, significant punishments for losses, and barely any gains in elo when victorious make it a very unattractive option in the solo queue heavy environment that players have grown used to. But quite frankly, Overwatch is a completely different game when playing it in a pre-made group, and I'm convinced that many players will love the idea of dedicating themselves to a group and playing on a regular basis when they didn't feel like it was punished by the game itself. Separating the queues would also mean that their solo queue bragging rank in the Hero League is not affected, and they can also get more rewards by doing well in both leagues respectively. Now, as I hinted at earlier, I'm confident that this is something the developers considered, and I'll be interested in the reason behind why this has not been implemented to this date. I feel like from a player's perspective this will be a no-brainer, but again we lack the perspective and reasoning of a developer. Another thing I am dying to have them copy from Heroes of the Storm is the way they handle chat bans. Now, as some of you might be aware, there are different levels of punishment for a variety of offenses in Overwatch. If you're constantly toxic and harass your teammates, you will eventually get chat banned, meaning you cannot communicate with anyone. And that makes absolutely no sense to me. You see, in Heroes of the Storm, if a player keeps harassing their teammates and they get reported often enough, they will eventually get chat banned as well. However, the difference is that the person in question is no longer able to join any ranked game mode, and they are clearly marked as chat banned on the scoreboard. There are two reasons why this is important. For one, communication and coordination is important in both of these games, but Heroes realize that having a player unable to communicate is not only bad for the team from a gameplay perspective, but the player in question is not somebody who should be competing in the first place. Thus, they are no longer able to join any ranked game mode. If you have a player in Overwatch who gets chat banned, then that is already awful because you're missing out on communication that could be crucial for your chances to win, but you are also queuing with a player who honestly has no place in this game. So not only is Blizzard putting you at a disadvantage by putting you in a team with somebody who cannot communicate, they are also fully aware that this individual is not a team player and thus should not be allowed to play competitively in the first place. When it comes to the mark of shame, that is the chat ban verification, it honestly is kind of a cool feature if you ask me. When I play any of the casual game modes and I see that my Zero tool is constantly feeding the enemies and I took a look at the scoreboard, I often feel much better about myself. Honestly, poor gameplay and poor sportsmanship, attitude and behavior often go hand in hand. I usually get very frustrated when playing with somebody who's just flaming the whole match because I can't tell if they're just having a bad day or not. But in Heroes, when I see someone play really poorly and then spot the chat ban verification, it makes me feel less bad about the game because I know that other people had to deal with that idiot as well, and it verifies to me that a positive attitude can go a long way. Not only does it mean that you don't unnecessarily aggravate your teammates because of a video game, it also means that you have a much more clear state of mind that allows you to focus on what matters, spotting mistakes and improving your gameplay rather than constantly ripping into your teammates for things you perceive to be wrong. But before I ramble on even longer, those are the two things I would love to have Overwatch adapt from Heroes of the Storm. And now it's your turn. Let me know which games you think they could learn from and which features could benefit us in our casual and competitive experiences in Overwatch. But until then, thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you all next time.